Steve, what are your top priorities if elected to City Council?
Thanks for the question, Camille. The first thing are jobs. Our jobs that we have are mainly service sector, low wage. They force people to work 2 and 3 jobs just trying to make ends meet. And it's really our young people who are the primary, guess you would say, victims of these, where they come out, they take these jobs, and they see no portals of advancement in them. So I would also say that we don't have a diverse economy either. We're primarily these low-wage service sector, server-type jobs. There's nothing wrong with that, and we're grateful to have. But the thing of it is that you can't raise a family off that. We need jobs that are diverse. We need to get away so much from low-wage service sector employment. A diverse economy is a strong economy, number one. Number two, and I don't like to go back and talk about what we should have done before we brought these hotels in. But one thing that a lot of communities that are forward-thinking do before bringing any industry in, and certainly before incentivizing them, is to put together a community benefits agreement to say, you will pay this much, you will hire these many local people, you will, and then talk about other things like daycare, an affordable housing trust fund payment into investment into the community as a consequence of locating in that community and doing business. And that's just a traditional way of doing business everywhere except Asheville. So let me just say that is another protocol we need to engage with, is to sit down before development paperwork is even done and fashion a community benefits agreement with any major employer or industry willing to locate here in Asheville. Okay, so we talked about the living wage. Living wage job for somebody like me, I believe it's $13.25 an hour, but I usually look at $15 an hour where we start talking. One of the ways that we can get that $15 an hour wage is the city of Asheville, and I understand that it has committed to paying a living wage to its employers, but it, for legal reasons, has said that it cannot mandate its contractors to do so. But one of the things that the city can do is that the city can encourage everybody with whom it does business to do that. And I've been a contractor with the city. One of the things when I did interact with the city was that, and I did pay a living wage, was that the city, a lot of folks would tell me, don't tell our employees, this is before they did living wage, how much you pay your people. Because they, when they hear that, they don't want to hear what we've got to say. But the thing about it is that the environment has to be correct. And so the city needs to lead the way for that. They have a lot of interaction with contractors and other business people, and they have the ability also to provide encouragement to these businesses to pay a living wage. The other thing is, let me say this, everywhere I go, when I certify and provide technical assistance to contractors or business people, one of the things that I put into those business, we have the conversation, number one, that if you get certified or if I proceed with your work, one of the things that I expect to see, and I would, in your business plan, and you need to agree or not agree or whatever we need to know now, is you need to pay a living wage, okay? You're not helping anybody by paying these slave labor minimum wages. Least of all, the people who work for you. And you're not helping yourself. It's a philosophy. And it's a philosophy that I, as a city council person, will have to not only utilize to help the city staff understand how critical it is, but all throughout the business community. The city council is a bully pulpit, and it's not being used like one, to invoke the fact that everybody in this city is part of the same family. We've got one people, we've got one destiny, and we have to take care of each other, which means we can't afford to let anybody be taken advantage of by anybody or any entity. So I would say to you, the next thing after living wages and good jobs, and it usually takes care of itself, is housing affordability. Let me just say that housing here in Asheville is some of the highest priced in the state. And that's simply because we've got a place here that folks want to come to and live in. But we want to have a place where people of all walks of life can live. One of the things that I want to do is to create an affordable housing, not a trust fund, but a community land trust. The city owns many parcels and just acreages of land that it's taken during urban renewal, that it's bought, that it's inventory, and we can take that land and put permanently affordable housing on it by having a community land trust for folks like artists, makers, other folks who are maybe starting out in a business and just don't have the funds, creative people like we talked about, low-income folks from all stripes of life. There are many ways to solve problems, but we have to take the availability of resources that we have and dedicate those to the people, because that's where they belong. Not banked somewhere looking to sell it to somebody coming in here to make a profit or bank some money for the city. But our people need this land right now. So that's one of the ways that we can also do. The other thing is, let me say this, we've been on a bent now with the Housing and Community Development Division of the City of Asheville to issue RFPs and to bring folks in who are so-called affordable housing providers, but that housing sunsets as affordable after 7 to 10 years. So we're right back where we started from. No more RFPs for folks who are going to use public dollars to build a development, then set the units up for 5 years, and then they come in and reap a huge windfall. We're not going to do that anymore. If they can't answer it as permanently affordable and invest in that sort of housing, we don't need you in this community. We've got enough of that. And we've got enough problems with investing our dollars in those types of developers and then them reaping a windfall, them and their board. See, we need people who are going to grasp our vision of what we need to do to keep this place affordable for all people. So thank you for the question. I appreciate it, Camille.
What are your thoughts on the I-26 connector?
Thank you for the question, Carol. Basically, Linda. Basically what we should have done is we should have taken into consideration that this big highway project is going to have a terrific impact on the environment. Right now, having looked at what the DOT has done, it doesn't look like we have a plan to protect the environment other than silk fencing. One of the other things that I have not seen the city become activated about are suggestions that would minimize intrusion into our neighborhoods here in Asheville, and to be very proactive about that. So I'm very disappointed about that. The other thing that I'm very disappointed in is that the city of Asheville has not, through its stormwater department, nor its traffic or transportation division, not talked about putting in green infrastructure, which would minimize runoff, not only during construction, but over the life of the project into our watershed. So that very much concerns me. Also, installation of other devices that would capture rainwater. I guess the most disturbing part is the fact that it's going to come right slap dab in the middle of low-income neighborhoods here in Asheville by virtually surrounding them, and not a whole lot of consideration has been given to what we call, we've got Hillcrest right there in the middle of the expressway anyway, just absolutely inundated by construction and what we call environmental racism. You've got the Burton Street neighborhood that looks like it is at risk as well. And there's not pertinent conversation being had about those issues, none of them right now, by City Council, are being led by City Council. So I'm very concerned that what does not get attention will be neglected. I'm believing too that there are going to be a lot of folks displaced, okay? And that disturbs me without proper planning. I've seen it happen before when the Crosstown Expressway came, when there were whole neighborhoods that it was plopped smack dab in the middle of, and these people were given nominal amounts of money for their property and just cast wherever they could go. And a lot of them happened to be poor people, working people anyway. And so that process of just wholesale removal of entire neighborhoods and people who probably don't have a lot of folks advocating for them. Nobody talking to them except for when they go door to door and tell them that the road's going to take your property, or that we need Hillcrest and we're just going to decimate it. So those types of things disturb me, that we have not had leadership from our city council to look after those disruptions that this highway will cause. And life as we know it will never be the same once this highway comes through. It can be done, it can probably be done, it's not going to be done, big projects like this are always disrupted. But I guess my biggest concern is that the overall losers are going to be people who've lost a lot anyway, and who can ill afford to lose more. So that would be my answer. And so hopefully, once we get on council, we can lead the initiative to negotiate on behalf of our neighborhoods and our communities, so that there is no wholesale dissipation of people and just the disruption that these major highway projects have caused historically here in Asheville.
Thank you.